first ever regional conference on human rights in migration governance is underway here in Nairobi, Kenya, which is hosting the inaugural event that has been identified as a regional hub for regular and irregular migration and trafficking. Let's now listen into the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights Chair Kagwiria Mbogori's address at the conference.
As a human rights defender who has worked in different institutions at the international, regional, and national levels, I must admit that my own experience has exposed me to some dynamics of migration. Migration is simply defined as a movement of people, group of people, from one place to another in search of a better life or greener pastures. The said movement can be organized or spontaneous, voluntary or involuntary. We live in a fast-paced world which has enhanced movement of people around the globe. This world is a global village where increased movement of people has been fortified by factors such as technological innovations in transport, medical care, education, housing, growing economies, increased democratic space, but also poor governance, civil wars, bad politics, poverty, and unemployment, among others. A reflection of Kenya's positioning in terms of migration shows that Kenya is a regional hub and a regional hub for regular and irregular migration. Current statistics published by the IOM, International Organization for Migration, and the United States in its Trafficking in Persons report, as well as statistics published by the Danish Refugee Council under Kenya's country profile of 2016, point to the fact that Kenya is a country of origin. It is also a country of transit and a destination to both regular and irregular immigrants. So we are in the whole mix. On the other hand, according to United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, UNDESA, 2017 figures, it is estimated that 258 million people live in a country other than the country of their birth. It is therefore timely for Kenya and the Horn of Africa to engage in this discussion on how human rights principles can or should influence migration governance. This conference will not only provide clarity but also a way forward on how the state and non-state actors can enhance collaboration to address the migration-related challenges and the vulnerabilities that result in massive human rights violations for migrants. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my hope that this conference will enable all stakeholders and participants to engage soberly and candidly on the subject of human rights and migration governance. I encourage all of us to allow comprehensive discussion on how the state and non-state actors can effectively identify any existing gaps and give recommendations that will enhance migration governance through enhanced coordination and collaboration among key stakeholders and reduce instances of violations of migrants' rights. As Kenya's National Human Rights Institution, our Commission is implementing projects on migration, governance, and human rights by working closely with state and non-state actors in the country with the aim of mainstreaming human rights principles in migration governance within our country. This would not be possible without the support of the GIZ Better Migration Management Program. In addition, the Commission works closely with the government of Kenya using different...
Right, matters migration rights, and so right now I'd like us to speak to a reporter, Brian Obuye, who attended that meeting. Obuye, kindly bring us up to date with what happened during the meeting.
Well, thank you, Brenda. Now, this two-day conference is seeking to clear the air and advocate for the rights of migrants across the Horn of Africa, bring together stakeholders to champion the rights of migrants. It has actually been noted that most countries are looking at migrants. The debate around migrants is most of the time surrounded around what is their contribution to the economy and not what is their role to the socio-economic and political stability, or what that exactly means to those specific types, to those specific countries, so to speak. And you want to note, or rather it has right emerged here, that about slightly over 250 million people in 2017 were actually living in countries other than their countries of birth. That was in 2017. This telling you that that's close to about 3% of the population across all over the world, people living in countries that are not their countries of birth. And that calls upon a discussion to emerge on the rights of these people. You want to note that even here in Kenya, we've had a number of sting operations being done by security agencies trying to what we may call conducting a crackdown on immigrants who are supposed to be living in the country illegally, or rather using an undue process. And Kenya, it has been noted, is not just a destination for migrants. It's also a transit location whereby it's being used by smugglers, by smugglers and human traffickers to transport people across these other countries, and the highest population of that being in 2016, according to the International Organization on Migration figures, showing that happened most in 2016. Also, the representative of IGAD has mentioned clearly that this responsibility of ensuring that the rights of migrants across the region, the Horn of Africa, cannot be done by just one country. It needs a regional conversation whereby people need to sit down and discuss which ways do they actually put in use, or rather put into place, to ensure that while people are following the right procedures, the set laws of going to other countries, living there, they do not contravene the laws of those particular countries. That has been well put by one Eunice Lamba, who has represented the office of the Interior Minister, claiming that the country's sovereignty should never be challenged by immigration. So this conference that is going to be happening for the next 2 days is going to lay ground. It's the first ever to ever happen in across this region, the Horn of Africa, bring together students, practitioners, human rights defenders to discuss and talk about which way forward for migrants across the entire region. You want to note that just the other time we were having a discussion of having refugees out of Dadaab refugee camp, because the country was discussing issues of security and not noting importantly the security, or rather the well-being of those particular refugees. You want to note that just the other day there was an uproar over that discussion of a damning expose that revealed what is going behind the war in South Sudan. So this conference has brought together representation from across the Horn of Africa and IGAD to discuss which way do they better curb illegal migration of people to different countries, human trafficking, and also to see that they are not violating the rights of these people who are living in countries other than their countries of birth. Brenda.
Right. Thank you so much, Brian Obuye, for that update of what transpired during that meeting when it comes to the migration rights. And on that note, we take a short